The world needs a pope. Which celebrity could fill those shoes? And how to live with a partner with ADHD. This is a big one. All that and more today on the Number 2 Show. Hey, welcome back to the Number 2 Show. I am your host, Rafe Williams, and I am excited to bring you today's show. To all my fans out there, the Bowl Patrol. Just let your ball glow. Just let it shine through. Yeah. Damn. That was tight. I'm going to make that an audition for something. I don't know what, but pull that footage. We're just going to put that out on the internet because I want to brag about how I hit them notes, baby. For the Bowl Patrol. I'll get a little soul patch, but it's just a little turd. It's a little turd nugget right there. That'd be nice. Guys, welcome back. I'm excited to bring you today's show. We're going to have some fun. It's going to be a very, very cool episode, short, quick, to the point, and I'm excited to bring you the first segment that we have every week because I'm here with my bud. He's back. We're back on track. It's my number one. It's my left nut to my right nut inside the sack. Please give it up for 15 Minutes with Rizz. The hell was that? I think we saw Zane's Pornhub search on that. Cool. Rizz, welcome to the show, bud.
I don't like being associated with your testicles.
Well, it wasn't my testicles. It was the royal testicles.
It was the proverbial testicles.
The proverbial left nut to my right nut in the universal sack of podcasting.
And I don't like the fact that you have a turd nugget as a soul patch.
I didn't like that either. If I'm to be honest,
I think that may need to be edited out in post.
Honestly,
I don't like that.
You know what? We're riffing here. This is live in the moment. And as soon as I thought about having a turd that close to my lip, I almost gagged.
So gross.
Sometimes you say stuff.
But you singing, I think that is American Idol worthy, at least, to get you to Hollywood.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I expect that. And speaking of Hollywood.
Yes.
I'll tell you what's in the news today. Big star died. The Pope.
Oh, yes.
We lost the Pope, and I want to talk. We've talked about it a little bit today on the other show, on the Rizzuto show, but I want to talk about it here on the Number 2 Show in context of, I've always thought, I've seen a lot of memes of like Donald Trump as Pope or Obama as Pope or Oprah as Pope, and I was like, we do live in a crazy world where celebrities are starting to get elected to high office, and I'm like, Rizz, let's me and you riff a little bit on what celebrities we think would be good popes.
Oh, Pope McConaughey.
Oh, dude, man, you hit a home run right out of the gate.
As if I haven't been thinking about this already. Come on.
You have, yeah. I figured you and I probably.
Once the Pope died, I went, next man up.
Sorry, next man up.
Next man up, Pope McConaughey.
I walked into a Cold Stone Creamery, and all I saw, every time I walk into a Cold Stone, it smells like an angel farted right in my nose.
Dude, I can imagine. We open up St. Peter's Basilica, and we got like a naked bongo circle going.
Shirtless Pope.
The Pope's got no shirt on.
No shirt for the Pope. Not Pope McConaughey. What Pope name would McConaughey take?
Yeah, the Pope Mobile is he's hotboxing the Pope Mobile.
Yeah, the Pope Mobile's a Lincoln for sure.
Oh yeah, of course.
All right. Let's green lights, everybody. Hey, thoughts and prayers going up. Green lights.
Oh, and what would his name be? He'd be Pope Pius.
Pope Pius. Pope Pius the Third. Pope Pius likes to get highest, and he's not afraid to admit
That's right.
Pope Pius likes to get highest. I was just down there the other day, and I was down there cheering on the Longhorns.
Yeah, you have the Pope on the sideline of the Texas.
Dude. McConaughey in one of them big hats, dude.
Oh, come on, man. That's perfect.
No shirt, big hat. All the extra fabric goes to his pants. Now he kind of looks like a genie. He's down there just having a good time. Mm-hmm. All right, McConaughey's in the running.
Good time all the time.
Who else would be a good pope besides the Maxter? Pope McConaughey the first, baby.
Are we going to have Pope Affleck?
I don't think we can get Ben in there, dude. Ben's he doesn't like public appearances.
I believe he's just, but here's the thing, that we may need a serious pope.
If you need the Pope to be over being the Pope, Affleck's your man, dude. Just ripping darts, rolling his eyes at people, asking them to lay hands on him.
Pope's disappointed again. Nah, that's just how he looks.
Pope just hasn't had his Duncan yet.
Okay, so no. All right, Pope Affleck out.
Pope Affleck, I'm voting down because I don't think he can handle it. He didn't. It's too much for him. He wants to be out of the spotlight.
How about? Hey, listen. We're no bad ideas. Pope Buscemi.
That'd be tight. Pope Buscemi, man. He's got a crazy eye.
Right. You don't know where he's looking.
He used to be a firefighter. You don't know where he's looking.
Public servant.
Yeah, he's been a public servant. He understands the job. Never really got to be the leading man. Maybe now it's his time to shine.
This is his time.
I like Steve Buscemi. I'd like to put into the consideration Pope Keanu. Pope Keanu would be a pretty cool pope, dude. Pope John Wick.
Here's the thing, though. If you look at like real Keanu,
yeah,
he may be too monk-like.
Well, that's what you want.
No, you need a guy. No, the Pope. The Pope is what? The Pope is the direct line to God, right?
Yeah.
God speaks to man through the Pope, right?
I think. I'm not Catholic. I don't know.
Okay, so you think, all right, the God gives some divine message, and Keanu's like, whoa. Whoa.
So God was like, dude. God came down. Last night, I was sitting on a bench eating ice cream, and God came down. And God was like, Keanu! And I was like, God? And he said,
I will only give you Keanu only as his Bill and Ted character.
Yeah, that is how I imagined him.
That's it. Not John Wick.
No, I want him as Bill and Ted Keanu. I want him as Ted Theodore Logan.
Ted Theodore Logan. Whoa!
So you're saying that, like, time doesn't exist in the ethereal afterlife?
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that Bill and I, we exist at different times in space and different times as it appears to the Lord's eye?
So gay shouldn't marry?
So wait. So what? God, wait a second. You're saying that
that women shouldn't be priests?
Well, what? Because of their vaginal canals, they're not allowed to be priests?
That's bogus.
That's bogus, God. And then we had our first woman pope, thanks to Keanu, his successor. That'd be pretty tight.
All right, give me a lady.
Man, I was just thinking about who would be a good lady pope. Well, before her scandal, I would have said Paula Dean.
Oh,
wow, she would have been a great pope.
Pope Paula the First, huh?
Pope Lard the First. Yeah.
Oh, we'd be putting butter on everything.
Yeah, Paula Dean's putting butter on the communion crackers, dude. The body of Christ had never tasted so good.
You want to get people to come to church? Put a little butter on their wafers.
Dude, the body of Christ never tasted so good. Paula Dean. So I would. That's my first one, but we can't put her in.
That's a great one, though. I mean, before the scandal.
Yeah, pre-scandal Paula Dean.
Pre-scandal Paula Dean. Yeah, we're trying to get people to come, back to the church. Am I right?
Yeah, we want people back in the church. So what do we want to? Who would be a good lady pope?
A good lady.
Because they're gonna have to kill it out at the gate. Because they're gonna be under a lot of scrutiny. We're passing. If we're gonna pass on pope, like if we were in the conclave and we had McConaughey, Paula Dean, Affleck, and Keanu up, they're the contenders as of right now. What lady are you putting up?
And don't tell me Oprah. Come on, that's too obvious.
Oprah's too obvious.
I
got too many.
Pope Swift.
Oh, Pope T. Swift.
Pope Taylor the First.
Dude, that would. Pope Beyonce. Pope Beyonce. Taylor Swift would.
Pope Beyonce. I think.
I mean, Pope Taylor Swift would get a lot of young people and probably get a lot of the gays back. Considering the Catholic Church hasn't been that kind. Probably get a lot of the gays back with T Swift. Same with Gaga. Same with Beyonce, really. Any of those three. That's the holy trinity of getting the gays back in the Catholic Church, I think.
Yeah. So you want to throw Pope Swift into the mix?
I mean, she's gonna write a lot of songs about, I feel like she spills the tea. Like, I'd be afraid to confess to her.
Yeah, that's right. Next thing you know, it's going to be in a song.
Yeah, she spills the tea on a lot of her exes. So I feel like she could get me excommunicated for some of the stuff I tell her in confession. That's my only concern with T Swift, honestly. I don't want the Swifties coming after me on this pod. She'd be a good one.
Hey, listen, she already is like a deity in some people's eyes. So she's halfway there.
That's true. She'd be a strong contender. What about anyone outside the sphere of music and acting? Is there anybody that jumps out to you that maybe would be a good pope?
Out of the sphere of music, acting, Hollywood?
Yeah, maybe just like somebody that's not, like a Bill Gates. I'm not putting Bill Gates up there, but I'm saying, like, is there anybody?
No, I mean, like Pope Musk, Pope Bezos, No, they've already got too much power.
Yeah, too much power. I was thinking like Bindi Irwin. Steve Irwin's daughter.
Bindi Irwin.
God, an Australian Pope would be so likable, dude. That Australian accent just is adorable. I mean, maybe the Hemsworth. Too hot. I'm trying to get out of Hollywood, but
So we need hot Pope.
It's all right. It's the Pope here. All right, I'm trying to love everybody.
How about Pope Jackman?
Pope Hugh would be tight, dude.
He's a song and dance man.
And he's a likable son of a bitch. You're right. Pope Wolverine, dude.
He's a song and dance man. He could get you with the acting. He could get you with dance and sing. He's a tour de force.
Yeah.
As they would call it in the theater business.
He is.
He could do everything.
All right, Pope Jackman. Whew. McConaughey v. Jackman. Wow. Well, I'd just like to say a few words here.
Man, I may be reconsidering my McConaughey and putting Jackman in there.
Jackman's got quite the lead. I will say, another likable guy, and I saw him this last weekend when I was at Moon Tower, Neil Patrick Harris. Pope Patrick Harris, dude. That guy's just a likable dude. Pope Doogie.
Are we ready for a gay man to be Pope? Is it time?
I mean, if you really want the gays back.
Is it time?
If you really want the gays back, just make Neil Patrick Harris the first gay pope, openly gay pope, and he's a song and dance man.
He is, and a magician.
And he's played two iconic characters.
Oh, dude, can you imagine a magician pope? And he's up there on the balcony.
You want people to believe?
And he's got doves coming out of his sleeves.
Oh, dude. White smoke. He comes out in the big hat. You got Neil Patrick Harris, NPH, comes out.
He takes the hat off. There's like a bunny under it.
Yeah, dude. He takes that big Pope hat off, and there's like a little guy sitting underneath it.
Yes.
And he just
mini Pope,
a little mini Pope, dude. Crowd surfs all over Vatican City while Neil Patrick Harris is giving him the old razzle dazzle soft shoe up there, and then it ends with him like sawing a cardinal in half.
Dude, I think he may be in the lead now.
The pontiff. He does have. Let's look up Neil Patrick Harris's resume because I feel good about this.
Doogie.
Well, he's got Doogie. He's got Barney from How I Met Your Mother.
He's got the character from Harold and Kumar.
Yeah, which was just him.
He's got Count Olaf from what was that? Zane, what was that show? Series of Unfortunate Events.
Oh yeah,
he was great in that.
He was in the Smurfs. Underrated. Starship Troopers. So
That's right.
That's a cult
following.
Outer
Space.
Let's see what kind of awards he has.
This man's got to have a Tony.
Tony Award, Best Performance by an Actor, Primetime Creative Emmy, Drama League Award, People's Choice, Primetime Emmy,
Blockbuster Award.
Is this guy an EGOT? Does he have an Oscar?
No.
He's an Oscar shy of the EGOT. Multiple accolades. He's an Albuquerque man. Let's see what else we got here.
He's
hosted the Tonys, hosted the Emmys. The guy knows how to be up in front of crowds. Hostile crowds, no less.
I think him being a magician puts him over the top for me. I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you, because I think we need a little razzle dazzle. We need some showbiz
I mean, if you're
when
going
it
to
comes
go,
to being the Pope.
yeah, man, we need some miracles again. We need some New Age miracles, and magic is just. I mean, if you don't up close, magic is a miracle in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You got Neil Patrick Harris pulling quarters out of people's ears out on the streets of the Vatican City, man. And the next thing you know, the Catholic Church, what is it called? Not membership. It's probably something cooler than that. What's it called? You're Catholic, aren't you?
I mean, I grew up Catholic.
Well, what do you call the congregation?
Congregation.
But it's called something cooler when it's worldwide, right?
Listen, Jesus turned what? Water into wine? One fish into many fish? Mm-hmm. This is all something, sleight of hand.
Dude. Yeah, he gets in on the sleight of hand, starts doing a bunch of cool stuff. Next thing you know, Neil Patrick Harris, Catholicism.
Jesus was the first person to go, ta-da!
That's true. He was. When he wrote this, I mean, he was the first. Honestly, that sounds like a David Blaine thing, to like get put up on the cross, be dead, and then come back 3 days later and roll the stone away and be like, here I am, bitches. That's very David Blaine. Very David Copperfield, all the Davids. Mm-hmm. Neil Patrick Harris. Right now, I got to put him in the front.
All right, so ahead of Wolverine.
It's hard. If Neil Patrick Harris was an Australian gay man, which a lot of people think that Hugh Jackman's gay.
Right.
Let's just be honest for a second. He may not be out, but a lot of people do suspect he was married to a much older woman for a very long time. Who people
recently divorced,
and there's nothing wrong with that. He fell in love. There are age gap relationships. That's not a thing. But a lot of people questioned whether this woman was a beard. It was a woman who helped guide his career. It seemed like they didn't spend a lot of time together. So there's either way, we may be getting the first gay pope. One of them just wears it on their sleeve a little bit more. But I don't know. Does Hugh Jackman? Let's just Google. Does Hugh Jackman know magic?
I bet you he does. At least some card tricks.
Yeah.
He could play the piano.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was in The Prestige, dude. Let's not forget. No, Hugh Jackman does not have real magic abilities.
Oh, okay. Well,
however, he did play a magician in the movie The Prestige.
Good enough for me.
All right. Well, it's between those two. I'm settling it here and now. Either NPH, first gay pope, or Hugh Jackman, Australian, possibly gay pope.
I think I may go Hugh Jackman.
You're going Jack? You're going the Jack man. What would his pope name be?
So he's got to pick, right? He's got to pick.
I think he's Pope Nigel the First.
Nigel?
Pope Nigel. Yeah. Wait, that's British. I'm all over the place with my accents today.
Pope Paul. Because I like the way Australian people
Pope
say
Crocodile.
Paul.
I'm Pope Crocodile Dundee the First.
Pope Paul.
Pope Paul. Yeah, they do say Paul really cool.
Yeah, I like the way they say Paul. Paul.
Pope Paul. All right. Well, it's either Pope Paul the First, Pope McConaughey the Second. What was he? Pope Pius.
Pope Pius.
Pope Pius. Pope Paul. Pope Pius. Pope Paul. Pope Paul. Or Pope Neil Patrick Harris, who just keeps his actual name. Pope Patrick. Put your vote in the comments. Who you voting for Pope? Give us any kind of engagement right down here. Look where my fingers are pointing.
And what we'll do is we will tally up the votes and we'll send them to the College of Cardinals.
Yeah, there's time. The conclave doesn't start for 15 days.
Right. So before they head into the Sistine Chapel, we will let them know.
We'll get ahead of it.
What the Poop Patrol thinks.
Yep, we'll get ahead of what the Bowl Patrol, thinks about who should be the new poop.
Okay, well, thank you, and that's it for me.
There we go.
And hope I don't get hit by a bus.
This is 50. Yeah. Good luck as he gets struck by lightning leaving the studio.
Bye, guys.
And that ends a segment we call 15 Minutes with Rizz, which we spent the entire 15 minutes hashing out who the new pope would be. We'll be back with hopefully white smoke after these brief messages. Welcome back to the show. Thank you for tuning in and listening. Thanks to Rizz for being here for the first 15. Now for the back half of the pod, I'm going to go to the Papa Squad hotline and address some messages that have been left for me, at least one, in a segment I like to call Tank Talks. All right, and as some of you may know, we have a Papa Squad hotline here on the number 2 show, 818-532-1420. That's 818-532-1420. You can call it anytime, day or night. Leave me a message if you got a problem, a situation you're dealing with. Maybe you want to make a confession. Maybe you're just lonely. You guys want to get something off your chest. Feel free to call in. I do listen to them periodically, and I will address them as they come in on some episodes of the number 2 show. If you want to be anonymous, just tell me you want to be anonymous, and we won't use your name. If you want me to use your name, tell me, and I'll use your name. Otherwise, I will err on the side of caution and keep you anonymous because I love you guys. If you're in the Bow Patrol, you're in my heart. Today, I want to play a message entitled How to Deal with a Partner That Has ADHD. So I'm going to play that message, which we'll listen to it, then I'll address it, and we'll see how it goes. And if we have any time left, we might do a second one, but I have a feeling this one's going to take up a little bit of the clock. Let's have a listen.
Williams, I love you. I love Tina a little bit more.
Did
Sorry
not say
to
that.
tell you, but I love her. Anyway, I love you guys, and I wanted to know what advice you have for my husband who has to deal with me, and I have severe ADHD, something I've known about forever. I know Tina was more recently, in the recent years, come to the realization that she has severe ADHD or ADD, whichever one she wants to call it. I'm going to say ADHD, just based on myself. And I've done forever and not been able to manage it because it's kind of just unmanageable. It's a wild fucking animal, and there are just amazing things about us, and there are some harder things to deal with. So please give advice on how you as a partner deal with that and how any suggestions you have to my husband to be a more helpful partner or a more patient partner. And, yeah. I'll take advice on how to just be me, too, with living with ADHD. So let me know your thoughts. And I love you guys. Have a good one. Oh, God.
Okay. True ADHD style, that person left me a message and then farted into the phone right at the end, which I appreciate. That was a pretty good fart. I'm going to rate that on the fart scale as a 6.5 out of 10. It didn't quite have the bass and volume I like to hear in a fart onto a phone, but it was just wet enough that I feel like you really focused to push that out. So thank you for that. This is an interesting one for me to answer because it's hard. It's near and dear to my heart, and it does cause some issues. One, thank you for qualifying that you love Tina more than me. Was very unnecessary. Hurts my feelings. Thank you. It doesn't have to be a competition. You can just love everybody or just say I love you both and keep it to your goddamn self. But that's probably your ADHD impulsive brain saying something that you didn't have to say. So I understand where you're coming from because I live with somebody like that. Before we talk about ADHD, though, I'm not an expert. Okay, I only know my experience. So I'm going to talk to everybody out there in the Bow Patrol from my personal experience with ADHD. I do not have it that I know of. I've also done an attachment style test that says I have whatever the healthy one is. I don't remember what it is. What are the 4 attachment styles? Let's look them up. The 4 attachment styles are secure, anxious, avoidant, and disorganized. I have secure last time I checked. Those can change over time. Tina is avoidant. My partner, Tina, has ADHD, and that was somebody that knew her calling in. Now, there are different types of ADHD. I'm going to give you a quick rundown for those of you listening that may not be familiar. The more detailed look, there basically are 3 main types of ADHD: inattentive, hyperactive impulsive, and combined, okay? And each type is characterized by a different symptom related to inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. There's all kinds of symptoms. There's no one size fits all. of any kind of ADHD. Basically, the inattentive type, formerly known as ADD, because some people get confused, what's ADHD, what's ADD? ADD is a form of ADHD. That's the inattentive type. This type primarily characterized by difficulties with attention, such as trouble focusing, staying on task, organizing, and following instructions. Individuals with this type may also be forgetful, easily distracted, and have difficulty finishing tasks. Second type, hyperactive impulsive type. This type is characterized by excessive activity, restlessness, difficulty sitting still, and impulsive behavior. Individuals may fidget, interrupt, or act without thinking. And then the third, combined, this type involves a combination of both inattentive and hyperactive impulsive symptoms. Individuals with this type may struggle with both inattention and hyperactivity and experience impulsivity. Yes, that's a word. Tina has combined, according to her doctors. So that is what I'm dealing with. I get both, baby. I don't get one. I get the platter. I get the ADHD combo platter. I've been with Tina for 9 years. Medication for ADHD a year or so she started taking didn't work. She started Adderall about 6 months ago, and I've gotten her permission to talk about these things, which is why I normally don't listen to these things in advance because I like to react in real time. But for that one, I wanted to listen because I am discussing. I had to talk about with her what she was, and she's a pretty open book. She's comfortable sharing whatever. I wanted to have her on, but she's going on tour tomorrow, and I just haven't been able to get her on. I tried calling her to try to patch her in for this one, and I think she's still sleeping, so we're just going to go. We're going to go with it because it ain't ever going to, it's already been sitting for about a month, so I'm just going to go with it. Now, you have to understand, for the first 8 years of our relationship, she took no medication, so she was just raw dogging ADHD, dude. I just had a raw dog ADHD monster loose in my house. Some of the things, that happen with ADHD, she has all of these symptoms. Very time blind. At times it almost feels like disrespectful of other people's time, even though I know she can't help it. And here's the thing. I'm going to be as loving as I can be and as honest as I can be right now in this conversation. I love her. It is a very sore spot in our relationship. It causes a lot of problems and difficulties. And I'm not going to air all her dirty laundry on here, but I will tell you guys some things, problems that it's caused. Because this caller, in true ADHD fashion, and it can feel like this, your question was, I believe, for me to tell your husband how to be a better partner for you, or how your husband needs to have more patience in dealing with you, or how your husband needs to improve for you. And those things are all true, but I also have empathy for your husband if he does not suffer from ADHD, because there's a lot of collateral damage that happens with people, or in my relationship with people with ADHD. And sometimes, I've had this conversation with Tina, and it's a hard one to have. We've had couples therapy and things like that where we've talked about it. You do want to be loving and supportive of someone, but there is also a point where it's very tough on the partner, because these behaviors don't present themselves as necessarily always a disease. It just feels like, sometimes it feels like selfishness. Sometimes it feels like thoughtlessness. Sometimes it feels like being taken for granted in certain situations. Things have manifested in Tina and I's relationship in the worst ways. I won't say impulsivity has caused pretty much the worst thing. I'm not going to say what, and I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty details, but pretty much the worst thing you can imagine in terms of a relationship has happened in my relationship. Because of impulsive decision-making and, difficulty communicating, acting without thinking. some bells can't be unrung, and it's been very difficult for me, and I would be willing to bet your husband has had some of these issues too. It's been difficult for me in terms of it has made me violate my own codes, my own moral codes, my own things that I ask of other people that they ask of me and I ask of them. And this is sounding really vague. This is very hard to get out. There are times that because I love her and because I know that ADHD is a real thing, that I have been, God dang, what's the right word I'm looking for here? This is much harder than I thought it was going to be. There are times that I feel like I've betrayed myself. There are times in my life I'm very, especially being in sobriety and having, been a piece of shit in the past, or at least what I viewed myself as a piece of shit, behaving like a piece of shit. No one should refer to themselves as a piece of shit. You can behave like a piece of shit. I think this sketch from Tim Robinson on I Think You Should Leave pretty much sums up like the mental script I used to run in my head, especially when I was first getting sober. No one is a piece of shit, but sometimes you can behave like one, and I think this sums it up really nicely.
Oh my God.
Watch the head. Watch the head.
Oh my God, he is so precious. Thank you. Maybe we could have another.
Let's talk about that later.
You want to hold him?
Sure, yeah. Okay, Of course he cries when I hold him. It's not a big deal. That's not a big deal. I guess he just doesn't like me.
No, he's just fussy.
Nah, probably just doesn't like me because I used to be a piece of shit.
He likes you. Don't worry about it.
I'm not worried about it. I know I used to be a piece of shit. I don't give a rat's ass.
I'm going to go see if he's hungry. Maybe that's a problem.
That's not the problem. It's that I used to be a fucking piece of shit.
Okay. That pretty much sums up the script I'm running in my head. I used to be a pretty big piece of shit. Now, it's not fun to know that about yourself, but it's also something that you can not be. And I think in my personal situation and the way ADHD manifests and impulse control and things like that, things have happened in our relationship that were devastating and catastrophic and have been really hard to deal with. And I find I have I've had to betray certain moral values that I have, that I've drawn lines in the sand for, of like, hey, this is not how you treat people. This is not how we do business. This is not how you build a loving, communicative relationship. Now, it's not all the time. There have been a couple moments that were really bad. And they start to pile up. So for this caller, I would say, yes, your husband needs to be patient, but I would like to see if you had some empathy for him too, because I'm on his, I can only talk about his point of view because I'm on his side of things. I don't know what it's like to live with ADHD, so I can't give you advice other than treat it, because that was a big sticking point for me for a long time was, Tina would self-diagnose with ADHD, like, oh, I have ADHD. It's not me. It's ADHD. And it becomes a catch-all excuse for behavior. And sometimes it is the root cause of the behavior. It truly is. But then, like, to put it bluntly from, like, the partner's point of view, like, why is that constantly our fucking problem? And that sounds shitty, but over time, your patience for it really wears thin, Then small things start to feel like, it starts to feel like the things you ask for are not important, or they take no precedence in the mind of the person who has ADHD. It feels like something as simple as being like, hey, can you try to close the cabinets? you know, and I know that sounds petty, but it's like tip of the iceberg stuff where I'm like, oh, okay, you can't close a cabinet, refrigerator door's open. Then it's like, can't be on time for anything. I'm like, hey, I don't want to be stressed out. I got a wedding. The wedding's at 4, and then we see you on the couch, and it's 1:30. And I'm like, you should start getting ready. I got plenty of time. You're time blind. You don't. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Now I want to leave at 3 o'clock, and she's still in her underwear, trying to figure out what she wants to wear. I have to leave and drive separately. We had to make a rule in our relationship that when there's a time, I have to leave. But the problem is, I could be an asset, and instead of if you know these things about yourself, like use your partner as an asset who's like, hey, I see a weakness. I know that you're time blind. I know that you think you've got plenty of time, but I also know how long it actually takes you. If I suggest that you get up and start getting ready, don't get defensive with me, because that's what happens with us is I'll be like, hey, it's 1 o'clock. And I don't say it in a shitty way. I'll say, hey, it's 1 o'clock. Why don't you take a shower and start thinking about what you want to wear? I'm not going to make us late. Eventually it becomes a defense. So then it's like you feel like you can't say anything or call out a behavior because they get super defensive about it. And you start to feel kind of shackled in the relationship, like you can't really win a battle with somebody with ADHD. You either have to endure it, and if you have the audacity to try to head it off at the pass, they become defensive, and all of a sudden you become their antagonist, which isn't fair to me. It isn't fair to your husband. Incomplete tasks over and over and over are a problem. Like, it's hard to deal with. I know it sounds petty, but it's like filling the sink with water and dishes with the intent to do them, and then walking away to do something else. And it's usually something productive. Start a load of laundry and take out the trash. But what happens is the sink stays full of water. The dishes sit there. The laundry stays in the washer and gets mildew smell on it. And the trash makes it to the front porch, but not out to the trash can. So I'll come home and there's a trash bag on the porch. I walk in, there's a sink full of dishes with cold water because they've been sitting there for hours. And I'll go downstairs to do a load of laundry, and I'll find wet clothes in the washer. And this doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen routinely. And I think a lot of that is like, in my brain, I can't understand. I'll be like, hey, can we just make it a point to just do one thing. If you're doing the dishes, just do them. I would rather come home and take out the trash and start a load of laundry and have no dishes in the sink as a partnership, as a domestic partner, than to come home and find 4 or 5 unfinished projects all laying around. But when someone has ADHD, they don't process that. They truly don't. And it starts to feel like a slight. It starts to feel like something. It starts to feel like these tiny little inconsequential things that we ask our partner for don't matter to them. That our feelings don't matter. That our comfort doesn't matter. That the things that we need on a day-to-day basis don't take precedence in your life. And that I know that that's not fair to the person with ADHD. It's not a fair assessment. But you're only human. And we're not talking about it's at the 10-year mark, it loses its charm. It's charming at first. It's kind of quirky and silly, and you're like, man, she's wild, that ADHD. I tell you, she's a wildcat. And here's another thing that is problematic in my relationship with my partner and her specific ADHD. I don't know what this caller's personality is like, but my partner, Tina, is highly charismatic and super lovable and likable. And that's some of the things I like about her, but that also is her Achilles heel, because a lot of the times with her time blindness or being late or being careless, Tina will show up late, half hour late with a Starbucks in her hand. And then she's so lovable and cool and free-spirited that everyone's like, that's Tina. And she doesn't understand that behind her back, those same people are like, this bitch is late every day. And, you know, her boss at work talked to her one time about her being consistently late. And she's like, I don't know what the big deal is. Like, I get all my work done, and it's not like other people care. I don't know why he's talking to me. And I was like, if other people didn't care, he wouldn't be talking to you. They're just not saying it to you. Because if you're constantly late for something, people's minds don't go to, oh, this is an ADHD person who has time blindness. People's minds go to, this is a selfish person who thinks their time is more valuable than my time. And I don't want people to think that. And I am not always on time for stuff. I try to give people a 10-minute grace period. That's my rule. But when you get into the 30, 40-hour late mark, you know, it starts to feel disrespectful. And the problem, you know, I don't know who the caller is. I don't know, but they sounded pretty lovable and jovial. They had a good attitude when they called in. You might have the same characteristics where Tina's so likable that it doesn't force her to change. And so she's fighting that uphill battle with ADHD too, of people really being tolerant of bad behavior because it's coming from such a lovable fucking person. Which makes me feel bad complaining about it. Because when I do, and you know, and I talked to her about this, and what she told me is like, both sides are valid. And she was like, I want you to say how you really feel, because both the person with ADHD and the person living with it suffer equally. And each person deserves to have their own feelings about it. And that's something that's new to my relationship. I just found that out through therapy, that they're like, hey, it's okay for you to feel this way, because I felt guilty for feeling that way. So that's been a nice new development in our relationship, which I think has opened up the lines of communications in a productive way for us dealing with it. And I'm grateful for that. But when it does harm, it can be irreparable harm. She's made impulsive decisions that put her at risk, that I was very upset about as a partner. You know, there were times she and I have had to have big talks about substance use. You know, she's not bad, but there have been periods where substance use has come into play where I'm like, hey, man, this is kind of getting away from you a little bit. It seems like you're making impulsive decisions to drive. And, you know, it's hard because she goes to therapy and she's in trauma therapy and she's doing some of the work. But there's a lot of starts and stops. There's a lot of starting with it and quitting. There's a lot of being consistent and then being inconsistent. And that is also symptomatic of ADHD. And it's very, very difficult, you know, as somebody's partner to, you know, she and I had a conversation where I had to say, when is enough enough? Like, when do I protect myself? When do I protect my peace? When do I protect my heart? When do I protect my emotions and my code? Because I feel when you are in recovery, and, you know, like, to go back to the, like, I should be a piece of shit. I should be a big piece of shit. You work really hard to restore your reputation. And I work really hard to put together pieces of my identity of, like, who I am as a person and what I think and believe and stand for, to try to treat people kindly. I try to be a decent human being, and I try to be helpful to people. I believe the service you provide is the rent you pay for the space you take up here on earth. That's my personal belief. So I try to help people when I can. I don't always succeed at it. There's days I'm a piece of shit still. There's days I do piece of shit things. I flipped somebody off in traffic and got into a fight with them yesterday. It happens. I'm not perfect. But sometimes ADHD is so overwhelming as a disease and as a condition that I feel like I can never be weak. That I'm in a partnership and a collaboration where I always have to be the bedrock. And I do like that part of my identity. I am a person you can lean on. I'm a consistent guy. I don't drink. I don't get fucked up. You pretty much get the same version of me every day. I have my moods, don't get me wrong. I have depression and things like that. But my baseline is pretty consistent. And sometimes it feels very difficult to be in a relationship where I feel like I can't, I don't have shelter because I feel like everything on her plate with ADHD is all she can handle. And there are times that it makes me feel like when I'm having a day, when I feel like I'm about to have an emotional breakdown, that I can't even communicate that to my partner. Now, this is somebody, and we've had talks about that. We've had talks about impulsivity. There are things that have happened that I'm like, what am I supposed to say to this? It's not even that I was mad about what happened. I was mad about the process in which it happened, where I was like, if this is something, I'm a pretty even keel guy. If you talk to me about something and you make an emotional argument to me and you appeal to my senses as a human, I see everybody as a human. But when you go and just do something and you come to me after it's been done and you're just like, hey, this is what happened, oopsie, well, then you didn't take me into account. If anything, it feels like you took me for granted. You assumed that I would forgive you, and you assumed that I would take the fact that you have trauma and ADHD into account, and it just feels like you're doing the thing you want to do knowing that you can get away with it. That's what it feels like to me. And I would be willing to think that your husband probably goes through a lot of the same stuff. At times, that's a difficult road to hoe, man, to be honest. So the thing I would say to your husband is be patient, for sure. There's a book called ADHD is Awesome. Tina read it. She liked it. I'm trying to read it. I'm trying to educate myself on it. That's the thing you can do. Be patient. Be emotionally open. Educate yourself on ADHD. And as long as somebody's trying, I think that's an important thing, because that was a sticking point in our relationship. It was just an unmedicated monster I was living with for so long that I'm like, well, and that was the question, to get it back to the hard question that I had to ask my partner, was like, you tell me, when will you realize that your ADHD doesn't just affect you? That 9 times out of 10, I am the collateral damage. I am the one absorbing the brunt of the blast. Yes, it fucks your life up. You being late for things fucks your life up. You not being able to focus on a task fucks your life up. You not being able to commit to something and stick to it. You having emotional roller coasters. You having ups and downs. You going out into the world and putting out this light into the world, because she's a wonderful person. She's filled with light and love. But I see the dark side of that. I see the flip side at home. When somebody's at home and they're an emotional wreck and they're in bed and they're crying, and she would admit all that to you. And I'm like, I want to help you and I don't know how. And it almost feels like you can't advocate for yourself in the relationship, because in doing so, you're betraying this person who has a condition that you're trying to be their caretaker all the time with. And that's tough, man. And it's hard to ask yourself that question. And I'm sure your husband has asked it too, if I'm being frank with you. I don't like being the collateral damage all the time, and it wears thin on me, because I feel like when a lot of these things happen, they affect me too. I've chosen to cohabitate with this person. I've chosen to build a life with this person. I'm 10 years in on this ride. I put my time in, and she is a wonderful human being, well worth the investment. I love her to death. But there are times, and there have been trying times in our relationship, where I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, because it's an ongoing thing. And she is making progress, and and I'm really proud of her. I do want to say that. I'm extremely proud of my partner, that she is, at least in the last year, started to take some accountability and onus on herself to deal with this shit. because it is a beast. It is a wild monster, like this lady said. So I would say, closing thoughts advice. Your husband needs to be patient and loving and educate himself on ADHD and how it affects your life and your marriage and his participation in things. And on the flip side, have some empathy and educate yourself on what it might be like for someone living outside of the side effects of ADHD and how it can feel like not just symptoms, but almost lack of caring or selfishness or needs not being met in a relationship, because it's two-way street, man. Like, he's got his wagon hitched to you for real. You're married. I don't know if you have kids or not. But, we build partnerships, and sometimes partnerships need to be built on, like, trust and love. And sometimes, somebody might only be at 60% one day when the other person's at 40. Or there might be a day when the person's at 10% and the other person in the relationship's got to pick up the 90%. We all want to be able to believe our partner can pick up that 90% on a day we're down. And sometimes when you're living with somebody with ADHD, you don't feel that way. You feel like you're not allowed to have a 10% day. You got to be at 75% or above at all times, because the red alert, the hunt for Red October could happen at any moment. There could be a meltdown. There could be a situation. There could be, times when chickens come home to roost that you weren't even expecting. It's an unpredictable disease. And I hope it's a disease and I'm not calling it something else. But the first book is this ADHD is Awesome book. It's kind of a funny, compassionate guide, to rocking life with ADHD. That's what it's called. So I'd say start there. Have your husband read that. And if you haven't read it, you should read it too. It might help you. Tina says it's been very helpful to her. I'm only a couple chapters in, so I'm not super deep in it yet. But I'm trying to have more empathy, be patient with her that she's making progress. And if you're out there and you're struggling with ADHD, you're not alone. I think a lot of people, and dude, honestly, I might have some fucking form of it too. I get squirreled out sometimes. I totally get it. But it is tough. It's tough to be in the middle of a conversation with someone and see them just tune out and check out. It makes you feel unvalidated. And I know that I know that she's not doing it to me out of hate or spite, because I know that she loves me. But there's times when I'll be like in the middle of a sentence after I've just listened to all your problems and tried to help you either just listen or navigate or whatever's going on. And then I'm like, here's what I got going on. And I'm 3 sentences in and squirrel, where she's picked up her phone. She's put on an episode of Black Mirror. She's she's biting her fingernails, staring off into space. And she just gets up and walks out of the room and doesn't come back for 20 minutes. That happens all the time in our house. I mean, it's wild. So I'm sure some of those behaviors also exist in your marriage, and you just got to have those hard talks, man. That's one thing I'll say for both of you. If you're in it and the ADHD is a wild animal, then you're living with the wild animal. We got to talk about, how do we deal with this wild animal in our house, right? I'm using your words here. It's a wild fucking animal. And that's true. That's what it feels like. I feel like I have a wild little gremlin that lives in my house and opens all my cabinets and moves my shit in the middle of the night. I wake up every day to a scavenger hunt for my own stuff. And I bet your husband does too. Every day I go to bed, I got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning for work. I put my little number 2 show hat. I flip it upside down. I put my wallet, keys, everything I need for the next day to make my life easy in the morning. I'm built on routine because of my sobriety. And when you're somebody who's built on routine and you live with someone with ADHD, those are two diametrically opposed forces. And it can be tough. And I don't know if your husband's a routine-like animal, but I am, and it fucks me up. It starts to make me, it's like gaslighting me in my own house. Like, I start to think I have cognitive decline because I'm like, man, I know I sat my pants out last night. I know it. Oh, I saw those when I got home from work, so I threw them in the hamper. Like, okay. Well, they were laid out, folded, You know, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. And it's like, that's that impulsive. And she's trying to help. That's what sucks is sometimes it's not coming from a place of like, she's trying to gaslight me, but it feels that way. I wake up and my shit's moved. I'll be like, Mom, I know I left my wallet out here. Oh, well, I find it on top of the refrigerator. And I'm just like, well, how the fuck did my wallet get on top? Did I do this? Who am I? What am I? I start to think that I'm like getting a little bit of the Alzheimer's. So have a little empathy for your husband. I hope he has a little bit of empathy for you. This was kind of a meandering take because I wanted to just speak honestly about it, and I didn't prep a lot for it. So I hope it was helpful. And I think we're going to wrap it there. Good luck to you. Much love. I love my partner. I'm proud of her. I'm only talking about these things because I want to have an honest conversation, and I got her permission to air any laundry I saw fit, which is one of the things I love about her. She is not afraid to wear her heart on her sleeve. ADHD is awesome. That's the book. We'll put the link down in the comments if anybody's looking for that. And if you're living with ADHD, you probably tuned me out by now, but maybe you're tuning back in. I would say somewhere in the middle of this, you probably wandered off and washed and waxed your car and, reorganized your sock drawer and then came back and you're just now hearing my voice. Rewind this thing. Listen to it. Maybe it'll be helpful to you. And if not, no big deal. We'll be back right after a word from our sponsors. And we're back. Thank you so much for listening to the number 2 show today. Wow, we covered quite a bit today. We got into celebrity popes, who would make the best one. A lot of good arguments were made, and a deep dive in ADHD and living with a partner who has it. I hope some of the stuff I said was helpful. It felt very raw at times to me, but I hope that it helps some people out there. And honestly, man, just try to lead with love in your daily life and in everything that you do, and usually things will work out. And honestly, use your ADHD as a secret weapon. Figure out a way to harness that shit. I feel like creativity is a gift of the ADHD, so harness that shit. Don't be afraid to get on meds. Go to therapy. Talk to your partner. Be open and honest. Keep the lines of communication open. And if you're a partner living with somebody with ADHD, be patient, be kind, be empathetic, and be educated. Read the books. Try to figure out what's going on with them. The better we understand each other, the better we love each other, the better we communicate, the better relationships we build, and the better lives we have. That's it. If you like the show, be sure to like and subscribe and share and leave a positive review on Spotify or Apple or wherever the hell you listen to podcasts. You know, I don't really have a genre. I'm just a guy on the toilet talking to you. One week a comment will be like, this show's too silly. The next week they're like, this show's too serious. The next week they're like, this show's silly and serious. I don't know what it's going to be from week to week. I try to keep it light. I try to make it entertaining. I don't want to be your favorite podcast. I just want to be your second favorite podcast. I don't care what you listen to. What's your favorite podcast? Maybe my partner's podcast, Slop City. It's a great one. Maybe it's a true crime podcast like Criminal. Ooh. Maybe it's you just listen to NPR all the time. I don't know what you listen to. Whatever it is, eventually you're waiting for another episode to come out. You got time to kill. Pop on over to the number 2 show. Make me your second favorite pod. I appreciate you listening. I'm Rafe Williams. That concludes this week's episode of the number 2 show. Until next time, be patient and always wipe front to back.